would notice that there is a packaged folder on your desktop that shows you trcc-files.zip. That's where we're actually going to start right now, because we want to take that package and unpackage it, because it has all of the files we're going to be using for the rest of this afternoon. Now, to unpackage a zip package, if you're using Windows 7 or even Windows XP, even Windows 8, all you need to do is to point to that package, right mouse click, and then select Extract or Extract All if you're using Windows 7 and Windows 8. This is going to start a very simple little wizard. The first thing we now want to do is to change the location for those extracted files. We're going to click on the Browse button and select the desktop. It's just going to make it very easy for us to find those files later on. We'll then click OK, and then just click on Extract. Now notice if there's a checkbox here that says Show the extracted files when completed, just remove that checkbox. We'll then just click on the Extract button, and it's then saying, okay, you may have some questions about some of the files, or in my case, it says, oh, I have already gotten it. But once it extracts them, then we just click on OK, and then you can close that browser. And what we now have is this folder that contains all of the files we're going to be using today. So again, all we had to do was right mouse click, extract, choose a location, the desktop, make sure it's not going to show the extracted files, and click on Extract. It then opens up all 187 of those files. There's a lot of them. I'm going to change the focus here and bring that TRCC folder into the front of my screen. Now let's see what's inside of this folder. I'm just going to point to it and double click on it to open it. And I notice that there are several folders that are here. Some of them we're going to be using the contents from what's in them. And there's also a Word document called Start Here. And that, I put that there because it's the only way I can remember where I'm supposed to start. What we're going to do is just point to that, and we know that in most Windows programs, if we double-click on the icon, then it's going to open up the program that's identified with that. So let's just double-click on the Start Here, and this is where we are going to start. We're going to start looking at a Microsoft Word document, and there it is. Now, this is what we are going to transform into an interactive lesson. It could be any Word document at all. Now, some things that I'd like you to notice about this particular 3-page document, think of this as a handout that we might give our students or might use to give our students. The first paragraph is a heading style paragraph. Right up here, I noticed that. If I scroll down just a little bit within this particular Word document, you'll notice that audio is also a heading 1 style paragraph. And as I go further down, I see videos. That's the same thing. We then see simple interactions. That's a heading 1 style. Links is a heading 2. And hyperlinks may be or is a heading 3. And I think if I make my window a little bit longer, you'll be able to see that. So I have used styles within this particular lesson. Now, as I scroll down, you should also notice, and it may be fairly far down within this particular lesson, that there's even an image. Right underneath text poppers, I see a picture that's part of this lesson. I also notice that I've got bulleted text. I'm going to scroll back up to the beginning of my lesson. And what I would like you to do is we're going to change the formatting of some of the text that appears here. On that first line of the paragraph underneath Welcome to a SoftChalk Lesson, let's just select Lesson Generator, and I'd like to make that boldface. We could click on the B button to make it bold. Okay, and I notice that it's done that. So I've got some formatted text inside of my lesson. I've got styled paragraphs, and we also have some paragraphs with formatting as well as an image. Now what we would like to do is to select all of that content. So I'm going to click on the select button that's on my editing section of the Home tab, or of the Home tab ribbon, and then I'm going to choose Select All. For those of you who like keyboard shortcuts, you can do a Control-A, and that will select all of the content of this particular Word document. Now that it's selected, let's put it on our clipboard. So I'm going to come over to the clipboard area of that Home tab, and I'm going to click on the Copy button. Once again, if I wanted to, I can use a keyboard shortcut, Control, CTRL, plus C. Now it's on our clipboard. Great. I'm going to minimize Word for now, so I'll just click on that Minimize button, and it puts it as a task on my taskbar. I may come back to that later on. Right now, I just want to close the TRCC Files folder, and then find that SoftChalk 7 icon. What I would now like to do is to double-click on that. When the SoftChalk program is installed on your computer, it creates that shortcut on your desktop. If for some reason you've taken the shortcut and thrown it away, you may do that, you could then go to Start, Programs, and then look for the SoftChalk folder, open the folder, and then select SoftChalk 7. So if it doesn't appear on your desktop, you can find it in the All Programs area. Now I'm going to double click on this, and it's now starting. It's showing me the current version. If you're connected to the internet when you start the program, it's then also going to check to see if there is a newer version available to you. Now, if you happen to have gotten the message saying a new version is available, do not install it. That'll just take too long. It may take 2 or 3 minutes to upload the newest version. So we'll just use the older version if that's what you currently have on your computer. Now we're looking at our SoftChalk lesson window. Notice that it does appear in a reduced size. It doesn't occupy the entire screen, and I really would like it to do that. So I'm going to go to my Maximize button, and then I'm going to click on it just so that it uses the whole screen, and I do not click somewhere and inadvertently make part of it go away, or make that lesson that I'm going to create go away. Now we're looking at the SoftChalk 7 window. When you look at it, you then might ask, well, how do I get started? Well, one method is you could type. So if you wanted to, you can start typing right now to create your content. I'm just going to backspace to make all of that go away. That's one method. A second method is to take what you've got in Microsoft Word, copy it like we just did, and then paste it into this window. Now we're going to do that. How do I paste? Well, I can go to Edit from the menu bar, and from that Edit menu, choose Paste. Or, if you like right mouse clicking, you can also right mouse click and choose Paste. Now when I do that, you're going to notice the center of the screen is actually going to display Converting Document. It doesn't take long, but what that conversion means is it took what you had from Word, it removed all of that extra information that Word put behind the document, and it made it into HTML. And that's what we're looking at right now. However, notice that first paragraph. If you click on Welcome to a SoftChalk lesson, it's still a styled paragraph of heading 1. If you click on Audio, that also is a heading 1 style. Notice how Lesson Generator is bold-faced, so we retain most of the formatting that you have from Microsoft Word. Now I'm going to scroll down just a little, and I should notice way down here that it even remembered the graphic that we had from Microsoft Word. Wow, pretty cool. And it then also remembered the bulleted text that was displayed. So we do remember quite a lot of the formatting from Word when we copy it and paste it into our lesson. That's our first step. Well, that was easy to do. So if you've got Word content, you can repurpose that into a lesson. Pretty cool. Now, the next step, I want to save what I've just done. To save it, I'm going to go to my Save button on my toolbar. I can also choose File from the menu bar and select Save, or I can do the keyboard shortcut. It doesn't matter. Because it's the first time we're saving this, it's actually going to ask us a question. It's going to display the Save dialog window. What I want to do is to navigate rather than saving it in whatever folder it currently shows. I want to put it inside of our TRCC files folder. So we're going to click on the Save In line, and we're going to save it to our desktop. We're going to choose Desktop to begin with. And then we want to select the TRCC files folder. So we'll just click on that and then open it. That's where we're going to put this lesson that we are creating. Again, we just click on the Save In line, choose Desktop, and then select the TRCC files folder. Then open it. Now we're ready to give this a name. And this is where we have our first rule in SoftChalk, or the SoftChalk 7 program. And that is the name that you use for the lessons you're creating must be all one word. You cannot put spaces in that file name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to capitalize the first letter of each new word. I'm going to call this my first lesson. You can also put dashes in between the words or underscores. My preference is to capitalize the first letter of each new word. I'm then going to click on Save, and we have now saved that lesson to that particular location. Now notice the top of the screen shows you the name of the program, SoftChalk, and the name of the lesson, My First Lesson. Pretty cool. All right, we've now accomplished several things. We've taken it from Word or a Word document, and we've now made it into a lesson that's available, that could be available to our students. Now let's see what it's going to look like to our students. We're going to again use our toolbar that we have going across our screen, and I'm going to point to this little magnifying glass on top of a globe. That's our preview in the browser tool. We'll click. It will open up our default browser. Now notice that I'm using Mozilla Firefox. It doesn't matter, even if you're using Internet Explorer, and I'm going to open up an instance of that. And again, I'm going to then display my lesson. There we go. It should look the same. All right, now, what we're going to notice is it may give you this little box down here at the bottom of the screen that shows you, is it okay to run active content or ActiveX controls for this web page? Well, actually it is. So I'm going to click on Allow Block Content. Now, when you do that, you do it for this one instance for Internet Explorer. Notice I didn't get that message when I was looking at Microsoft or when I was looking at Mozilla Firefox. There are some things that we as the creator of content need to do to Internet Explorer to make it work just a little bit nicer for us. We're going to go up to our Tools menu. And if you have the menu bar, just choose Tools. If you just are using the icons, then click on this little cog. Click on it. And then from that drop-down menu, select Internet Options. This will display the Internet Options dialog window. And I'm going to center it a little bit better on my screen here. Now what we want to do is change where we're looking. We're currently looking inside of our General tab. Let's go to the Advanced, the Advanced tab. And we then want to scroll down, so I'll just click on this down triangle until I get to the Security section. It's pretty far down there. Once I see Security, then what I want to do is go to that second line that says, Allow active content to run in files on my computer, and then click on that. The Internet Explorer, for some reason, doesn't like it when you try to display content or web pages that are not coming from the web, and it gives you problems. So what we need to do is to say it's okay to Internet Explorer. Do your students need to do anything? No, because they're not creating the content. You only need to do this because you're creating content. All right. Now, once you've done that, just click OK. And it's now active. When we close our browser, it's going to apply it permanently. Now, as I look at this lesson, nobody's really excited. I didn't see anybody go, wow, that looks really good in my question or in the chat box. And that's because it's not. It's black text on a white background. Now, I'm going to ask a question. Is this better than taking the Word document and just putting that in Blackboard? Is it better? And how many think it is? Just click on your raise hand button. And Ben, you can do a poll of everybody in the room. Okay, so everybody in the room thinks it's, or a lot of people in the room think it's better. For those of you who aren't sure, let me tell you why it is. The only thing your students need right now to view this content is an internet browser. They don't need anything else. When you buy a computer, does it come with Microsoft Word? No. Does it come with something to read Microsoft Word? No. All it comes with is a browser. So now my students don't have to buy anything to read my content. On a cell phone or a mobile device, all they need is a browser. And most of the smartphones, in fact, all smartphones come with a browser. So now my students can access this content using anything that they can connect to the internet. And they can then read my content. Now let's close our browser window. And let's make our lesson look much better. Right now, we've got it. It's available to our students. Now let's make it look good. The reason it doesn't, the reason it's just black text on a white background, is because the lesson itself is not styled. Notice the bottom center of the screen shows us the lesson currently does not have a style applied to it. Our next step in creating our content is to choose the style that we want to use for our lesson. We do that by choosing Properties from the menu bar. From the Properties menu, we're going to select Style Properties. That's going to display a dialog window where you currently notice that the lesson is not styled. Now, on my computer, I then have custom styles available. Custom styles are styles that were created by the SoftChalk graphics team and then made available to your school. If you want one, we can create one for you. Now, what we should all see are banner styles. These are different looks that you can use for your content. Now, I'm going to just click on that first look called the Bubbles banner. Now, there are over 120 different styles that you can use for your lessons. If you don't like any of the styles that we've created for you, you can actually create your own style using the SoftChalk Style Builder. And I'll be covering that in probably when I come to your school face-to-face. We'll see how we can create our own custom styles. Now, we're going to just choose this Bubbles banner. Now, before I click OK, I now want to come over here to the left-hand side of my screen, and I want to select Title and Layout, because this is where I can actually give my lesson a title. So I'll click on that. I see that my cursor is inside of the titles line, and I'm going to call this a student first lesson. This lesson that we're going to be creating should be the first thing the students see. This way they'll be used to looking at all of the really interactive features that you're going to be including in the lessons you're designing for your course. Now let's see what other options are available to display content. First of all, we see a footer section. Do we want to copyright material that we create? Well, my thought is, yeah, if I'm writing something, I'm copywriting it. Okay. Yeah, I didn't used to feel that way, but when I was working on my doctorate, I decided, I didn't want anybody to take what I created. So I make sure that I always select that. Do I also want to show my students the last day that I started or I created or modified the lessons that they're looking at? Now, my first thought was, no, I don't, because I don't want them to notice that I'm only one day ahead of them. But then I thought about it again and said, you know, I really do like them to see that the content that they're looking at is current. It's not something I created 5 or 10 years ago. So it really, I use this to keep me honest with my students. All right, now, what about this licensing option? As a default, it says unspecified, which means if anybody sees the content other than my students and they like it, then they're going to have to contact me to use it. You know, just like any other thing that or any other content that we see on the web or that we find anywhere, we know that for us to use it, we've got to get permission of the creator. Well, what you can do with SoftChalk content is you can apply a Creative Commons licensing item or element to your content. All right, I'm going to make mine an attribution, which means that's now part of Creative Commons. So if someone looks at my content, they can use it, they can change it, they can do whatever they want to, and they don't have to ask me. It all depends on if you want to do that. Then down below, we see what additional text is going to be there created with SoftChalk. Now, I'm going to modify that line. I'm going to click right after the word created, and then I'm going to type in a space in the word by, and I'm going to put in my name. Now, I would suggest you type in your name. This way, your students, if you're doing online only rather than a blended effect, they always see who created the content. So they get to know you even though it's an online class. Now, I'm not going to worry about the right-hand side of this screen right now. I'm just going to click on OK. And you should notice a different look for your lesson. Now we have lines that are in purple. Oh, wow. All of those purple lines are paragraphs that had a style applied to them of either heading 1, heading 2, or heading 3. Now let's see what it now looks like. So let's go to preview this in the browser. We'll save our changes. And in a few seconds, once my browser window readers, notice what we've just created. Wow. On the right-hand side of the screen, I have an on-the-page sidebar showing me all of the topics that are in this particular lesson. I also notice, well, all of these are hyperlinks. So that means if I point, for example, point to quiz questions and click, it then navigates to that particular area. I also have a return to the top of the page. And in addition, this is really exciting, I've also created mobile content. And this is smart mobile content. Now what I mean by that, when your students try to access the lesson through Blackboard, the first thing the lesson is going to do is look back at the students and see what kind of device they are accessing it using. And if they're using a cell phone or a Android tablet, then it is going to display formatted correctly for that device without you having to do anything extra. That's pretty neat. I also notice that I can return to the top of my screen. I see the copyright information. It says some rights reserved because I made mine part of Creative Commons. That's what you see down here. Now what that some rights indicates is if someone would like to use my lesson, they can do so without asking me. They just have to give me credit for it. All right, well, I'm going to click on the return to the top, and notice how that takes me back up to the top of my screen. All right, well, let's close our browser. Oh, let's see if the graphic is still there. I'm going to go to hyperlink examples, hyperlink examples, and then I'm going to scroll down until I see text poppers, and I do notice that that graphic is there. Cool. Let's close our browser. And I do want to close it. I don't want to just minimize it. The reason I want to close it, sometimes when we perform a particular operation within the SoftChalk Create program, and then we try to display it back into the browser, if the browser is open, it may give us an error message saying that a file is not available. But if I close the browser, then it takes care of all of those problems. I'm back into the SoftChalk Create or the SoftChalk program. Now, let's try something because I know it's going to happen to somebody at some point today. Let's just go to our title bar and click on the X on the right-hand side of the title bar to close the SoftChalk program. It didn't ask you to save anything because you just saved it. Now, where did we put that lesson? We put it inside of the TRCC files folder. Let's open that folder, and you'll notice that you don't see my first lesson as a page. You see it as a folder rather than just as a page. I also notice that Microsoft Word is still running here. I guess I don't need Word anymore, so let's just go to our taskbar, click on the Word task, and then just close Word. We don't need to save any of the changes that we've made. And now we're back inside of our folder, and we're looking at that My First Lesson. Now let's open that. Point to it and double-click on the My First Lesson folder. And look at the first thing you see, mobile pages. Well, I already explained that we're creating mobile content. Now, Also, we see ADA access. That means that's Americans with Disability Act access. So the content that we are creating can also be accessible content. Pretty cool. And I didn't even have to tell it to do that. Our program generates that automatically. Now, we also see a whole bunch of files that are here. These are all generated automatically by our program. Now, what we want to look for is the file called My First Lesson. Now, if you notice my screen, that is an HTML file. Now, what happens if we would double-click on My First Lesson? Well, let's find out. Point to it and double-click. And what it's going to do is not open up the SoftChalk program, it's going to open up a browser window because that is what is connected with an HTML file. Oh, okay. Let's close that browser. And right now, let's just even close our My First Lesson window. So I'm just going to click up here and point to the X and click. So we've just found out that you cannot edit a lesson by double-clicking on the lesson icon because it opens up a browser window. So to edit content or lessons that SoftChalk has created for you, you need to be in the SoftChalk program. Once again, let's go to SoftChalk 7, and we'll double-click on that to start the program. It once again is going to check the internet and see if there's a new version. It then says there isn't, so I'm going to display the program window. Now here's where I want you to notice there's a difference between the way it displays now and our first time. The way it displays now, it's showing me that a style is already connected to the lesson. It's called the Bubbles Banner style. The reason it does that, SoftChalk 7 remembers what you did last. And the last thing you did to a lesson was apply that style. So it then assumes that the next lesson you want to create will use the same style. That gives you a consistent look for your entire course. Now, how do we edit what we created a few minutes ago? We choose File from the menu bar and select Open Recent. And this is going to show you the most recent files that you were working on. You only have one thing in the list. Choose that first item, My First Lesson. And now we're ready to start editing. Well, I want to maximize my window again. Now, let's see if it works by pointing somewhere on the title bar where there's no text and no buttons. Then double-click. That works that way in most programs. It also works that way in the SoftChalk program. Let's see if we can remove the formatting for Lesson Generator. Point to the left of the word lesson, hold down on the mouse button and drag to select all of that text. Then choose Format from the menu bar and select Remove All Formatting. So if you do something to your text and you do not like it, then you can, if you want to, you can easily select the text and remove all of the formatting, regardless of what was done to the text. We could also have removed the boldface simply by selecting the text and clicking on the B button that we see on our toolbar. We are now ready to start editing our content. Well, the first thing I would like to do is to add more navigation points to my lesson. Now let's just go all the way to the bottom of the lesson. And I'd like you to click underneath the words Activities. I'd like to add a navigation point title that's going to say Scoring activities, and just leave the cursor right where it is. All right, now, cursor is at the end of the scoring activities line. Let's now make that into a styled paragraph. Point to the toolbar where it says plain text. Click and then make this a heading 2. Now, why did I choose heading 2? Well, activities is a main topic, so scoring activity would be a subtopic of activities. All right, that's pretty cool. Now, let's see what that has done. Let's go to our toolbar and click on the preview in the browser. Save the changes that you've made to your lesson. And notice on the right-hand side of the screen, once my browser reappears, I'm going to see, if I scroll down just a little, I'm going to see scoring activities is automatically part of that navigation. So if I want to add another location that I want my students to be able to navigate to quickly, I place my cursor, I type in the phrase that I want my students to navigate to, and then I make that into a styled paragraph of either heading 1, heading 2, or heading 3. Let's add more navigation to our lesson. We're going to close our browser window. I'm back into the SoftChalk Create or the SoftChalk 7 program. Now what I want to do is I'm going to choose Properties from the menu bar and select Style Properties. Now we were here just a few seconds or a few minutes ago when we changed and applied a style to our lesson. This is also where we go to add navigation to our lesson. Click on Title and Layout. On the right-hand side of the screen, these are the navigation properties that we can apply to our lesson. I'd like to put in a table of contents page, so just click on a check. That's it. Nothing more is needed. Let's click OK. And let's see that table of contents page, because notice it does not display in the SoftChalk 7 window. We need to go to our browser to see what we've done. So I'm going to click on Preview in the browser. I'll save my changes. And in just a few seconds, we're going to be looking at this content, and the table of contents page appears. Notice how it really does now look like an outline where we have main topics, they're on the far left, subtopics, and then sub-subtopics. Or in the SoftChalk 7 vernacular, heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3. And all of the items that are on this table of contents page are hyperlinks. So if I point to something, for example, let's point to hyperlinks, and you click, it will take you to that particular section of the lesson. Let's scroll up to the beginning of our lesson page, and you'll notice that on the left-hand side, the top left-hand side, we have what's called now a navigation bar, and we see the word contents appear. If you point to that and click, then it will take you back to the table of contents. Let's choose or scroll down and choose the quiz question link on our table of contents. And notice we see a TOC at the bottom of our lesson page. That again would take us to our table of contents, and return to top takes us to the top of our page. I'm going to close my browser. And I really like the way that table of contents looked, but I think it would look better if it didn't say page 1 right at the top of it. So I'm now going to go in and name the page. Now, everything we're doing so far is changing the look of the lesson. Anytime we want to change the look of the lesson, we're going to choose Properties from the menu bar. From the Properties menu, let's select Style Properties, or let's select Page Names. I only have one page to my lesson. Oh, incidentally, you notice that was one formatting option in Word that we did not duplicate. The pages, and there were 3 pages in Word, are removed because how your lesson will lay out on the screen is going to be a lot different than the way it appears on an 8.5 by 11-inch sheet of paper. So we think you should be the people or the person who decides how this content should be chunked on your screens. Now let's give this lesson a name. And we're just going to call this using a SoftChalk lesson. We'll then click OK. I won't notice any changes until I preview this lesson. So let's preview it again. We'll save our changes. And in a second, when my browser window comes back, I'll then notice the table of contents no longer says page 1. It says using a SoftChalk lesson. And we see all of the topics that are there. I'm going to close my browser window again. And I'm back into the SoftChalk Create program window. Now, let's add some chunking into our lesson. Rather than having one long page, let's break it up into multiple pages. To do that, we place the cursor where we would like the page to end. Now, since I'm already looking at the end of my lesson, I'm going to click right up above Quiz Questions. I want quiz questions to be the beginning of another page. So I place my cursor at the end of the paragraph above that. And now I'm going to add a SoftChalk item. I'm going to choose Insert from the menu bar and select Page Break. And I want to choose Insert One. We now have, notice the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, 2 pages. Let's scroll up, or actually let's just look up, and where we see activities, I'd like you to click at the end of the paragraph immediately above activities. I want activities to start on a new page. So again, I place my cursor where I want the page to end. I then choose Insert from the menu bar, select Page Break, and Insert. We now have a 3-page lesson. All right, let's scroll up just a little bit, and I'm going to look for text poppers. I'm going to click right up above text poppers, and this is where I want my page to end again. This time, I'm going to do it a little bit differently because I noticed every time I went to Insert from the menu bar and selected Page Break, it said there was a keyboard shortcut that I can use. Let's do that. Hold down on the Control key, that's CTRL, and then press Enter. And you'll notice that we see another page break appear. We now have a 4-page lesson. Let's scroll up a little bit more. And I'm going to look for the word or look for simple interactions. I want to click on the blank line up above, simple interactions. Then I'll wait till everybody finds that. And once I'm there, I'm then going to again use my keyboard shortcut, Control, CTRL, and then Enter. Now that should be very familiar to you because it's the same keyboard shortcut that you could use in Microsoft Word to create page breaks. We're going to create one more page break. Let's just scroll up, and I'd like you to click at the end of the paragraph above the word audio. I'm now going to, again, do a Control-Enter to create another page break. Now, let's type in the word, or let's type in, right where the cursor is, media in a lesson. Then press Enter. Audio will change because the paragraph that we were in was a heading 1 style. Now when we pressed Enter, audio appears as plain text. Can I now make that into a navigation point? Sure. I'm going to go up to my toolbar where I see plain text. I'm going to click and I'm going to make that a heading 2. Heading 2 because media in a lesson is the main topic. Audio is a subtopic. Videos should be another subtopic. So let's click on videos and change its style to a heading 2. Let's see what all of this looks like. So we're going to preview this in our browser. We'll save our changes. And in just a couple of seconds, once my browser window reappears, I now see my table of contents that shows me all of my page numbers and the topics that are on those pages. If I point to any page number, like page number 3, and I click, I'm then looking at that particular page. Notice at the top of the screen, we now see our page number navigation bar, where the current number is a little bit bolder than the rest. That's our page 3. We see all of the topics that are on that page. Now let's go to page 1. Click on the number 1. There is no on the page sidebar there. The reason there's not is very simple. There's only one topic on the page. It's my welcoming line. And our program says if there's only one topic, then the students shouldn't need to navigate to it because they're already there. If we go to page number 4, then we'll see all of the topics that are on that page, text poppers and active text poppers. We see all of our page numbers. We're going to add more navigation to our lesson. So I'm going to point to my title bar for my browser window, and I'm going to close it. I'm back into the SoftChalk Create program. To add navigation to our lesson, we go to Properties and select Style Properties. We're going to click on Title and Layout. I also want to bring in a drop-down menu at the top of the page. And then I'll click OK. Now, I know a lot of us are thinking, well, I teach math or I teach science, and I really do not want my students to be able to navigate anywhere they want at any time. Okay, that could be true. I'm a math person. I've taught math for many years, and I really don't want my students jumping around. I really need them to start at page 1, go to page 2, and then page 3. We're going to see how to do that a little bit later. Right now, we're creating an open navigation lesson, and I would always, when I'm beginning creating a lesson, let it be open so that as I test things and see what I've done, I can easily navigate to any particular page just to see what I've done and how it looks to my students. When I finish, then I decide on the navigation that I want. Now, at the bottom of this window, do I want my students to be able to print all of the pages of my lesson? Well, I think I do. Although, I think you may find out, depending on the ages of your students and their life experiences, I find that most students today never print anything. Because it's on the internet, they know they can always get back to it, so why should I print it and waste all of that time? I don't think they're too concerned about wasting paper. I think they're more concerned about wasting time printing it. That's just my thought. I'm going to click on OK, and I've modified my navigation again. Let's see what it looks like. We'll preview it. We'll save our changes. And just a second or two, we'll look at our browser. I'm going to go back to the first page, so I'll just click on Using a SoftChalk Lesson. And notice at the top left-hand side of the screen, we see the word Contents with a triangle pointing down. That's our drop-down menu at the top of the page. If we point to that, it gives us a miniature table of contents. We can see all of the pages, and as we roll over the pages, we can see all of the topics that are on that particular page. Okay. And that means I can navigate anywhere I want. So we really now have a very open navigation lesson. I'm going to close my browser, and that's navigation part 1 in the SoftChalk program. Before I move on to my next topic, anyone have any questions so far? Okay, I don't see any coming into the question and answer dialog window. Really good. So far, hopefully everybody is saying, well, gee, this is pretty easy to use. Well, it's going to continue to stay very easy. Next thing I would like to do, I want to look at graphics. All right, I'm going to scroll down in my lesson until I see text poppers, because there's a graphic there. Now, one of the things that I would like to do is I would like my text to wrap around that image. Currently, the text or the graphic that you see here is an inline graphic, just like it would be if you inserted it from Word. It's an inline graphic. How do I get text to wrap around it? Well, we simply click on the graphic. Notice when you click on it, it puts a selection box around that graphic. We then right mouse click on the graphic and it pops up a menu. We next want to select Modify the Image. This gives us our Insert Image dialog window. First thing I'd like to change is the alignment. Currently, it says the alignment is none. That means it's an inline graphic. Click on the word none and put it on and choose left. That will put the image on the left-hand side of my screen, and my text would then wrap around the image. Now, because the image has a lot of white space behind it, and it includes text in it, to make it stand out a little bit more, I'm also going to include a border. I'm going to click on the border line, and this is just a thin line that gets drawn around the image, and I'm going to put in a border width of 2. Now I want to deal with text crashing into the image. The text may be too close to the image itself. So I'm going to increase the vertical spacing, and I'm going to let it be 10. Those of you who are interested, well, what do those numbers mean? Those are pixels, and a pixel is a dot on your computer screen. All right. I'm also going to change my horizontal spacing. I'm going to let that be 10 also. Then I'll click OK. We're going to come back to this image in a couple of seconds. And notice now how the text is offset from the image. Now let's click on that image again. It didn't really change the image. What it changed is the selection area that that image includes. And that space is that additional space that we are keeping between the image and the text itself. All right. That's our images part 1. Now what about adding our own image into a lesson? Well, let's go up to the beginning of our lesson. Incidentally, the quick way to get to the beginning of a lesson, just like in Microsoft Word, hold down on the Control key, CTRL, and press the Home key. And that always takes you to the beginning of your lesson. Now let's click right underneath the word audio. Click at the beginning of the paragraph underneath audio. What I want to do here is put in an image. Now let me show you the image that we're going to be including. It's going to be coming from that TRCC files folder, and it's my graphics. We're actually going to be bringing in this audio image. We'll see how we can do that. Now, how do we add that image into our lesson? We choose Insert from the menu bar. From the Insert menu, select Image. This once again displays the Insert Image dialog window. Click Insert or select Image. We then need to navigate to where the image is stored. So it's currently probably telling you to look inside My Documents. Click on that line and then choose the desktop. Then select the TRCC Files folder. Click on it and then choose Open. And then let's go inside of the Graphics folder. Click on the Graphics folder and choose Open. Let's select Audio 1. There's my image. It gives me a preview of it. Now notice the kinds of images you can bring into a SoftChalk 7 lesson. It can be a GIF file. That's a graphic interchange format. A JPEG file, Joint Professional Graphics, or the E stands for Extended. Portable network graphics. Now this first group, those are what we might want to refer to as our web-friendly graphics. Our program also allows you to bring in a bitmapped image, a BMP file. It will actually convert that into a JPEG file. Now, I've chosen Audio 1. I'm going to click on Select, and it then tells us that that image is a good image to use. Great. Now that I know that, I would like text to wrap around the image, so I'm going to change my alignment, and I'm going to put it on the left. I also think it would look better if I had a border going around it, so I'm going to change my border size to 2. And notice how it remembered my usage of the V and the H spacing. And I'll just let it stay those values. Now let's come over to the right-hand side. This is where we see the alternative text. Alternative text will be displayed if your students are using Internet Explorer. As the student rolls over the image, whatever is in this box would be displayed. So I'm going to change what it says. I'll just get rid of what's there now, and I'm going to say a speaker with a dialog bubble. Okay. Now, some people say, well, that's great because this is also what would be read by a screen reader for my visually disabled students. And that's true, it will. But everyone then would be able to see that description. What I like to use for my, again, visually disabled students is the long description line. And what I would then type in is a speaker image appears with a dialog bubble that has the text. Click on the speaker to listen to the audio. I'm really describing the image. I'm describing it hopefully for someone who cannot see. When it's read to them, they then get the idea of what it actually has in it. And this would only be accessible by someone using a screen reading program like JAWS or something similar to it. Let's click OK. And we've now added that image complete with making it accessible to our visually disabled students. That was pretty simple to do. Now, that image I put in, I did want text to wrap around it. So I placed my cursor on the line where the text starts that I want to wrap around it. Now, what about putting in an image that I don't want to have any text wrapping around? Well, there we should actually start on a blank line. Let's try that. Let's click at the end of the top line of our lesson, welcome to a SoftChalk lesson. Press enter. So we start on a blank line when we do not want text wrapping around an image. We'll then choose Insert from the menu bar, and from the Insert menu, select Image. Click on the Select Image button. And you should notice it took you back where you last were. The SoftChalk 7 program remembers what you did last. And the last time you looked for a graphic or an image, you went to this graphics folder. So it redisplays it. Now I'd like you to choose the TRCC large. Select that. It shows you the image or a preview of it. Click on Select. And this time it says, well, you know, we're not recommending you use the image because it exceeds our dimension guidelines. The dimensions of it are 1002 by 549. Our guidelines suggest that you should only use images that are 800 by 600 maximum. Now, it doesn't say you can't. You can use this image if you would like. It just means it may not fit on the display or on the monitors on many students' computers. It may not all fit nicely. So what we recommend you do at that point is you go to this Optimize tool, and this is now enabled because the image is too large, and then click on it. Now, once you click on it, you should notice that it reduced the dimensions to 800 by something. And it also reduced the size. So what it has done is it's gone into the graphic itself, or a copy of the graphic, and it reduced the file size of that graphic. Our program did that for you automatically. Now, I don't think I need any vertical and horizontal spacing, so I'm going to change both of those to 0. And well, the next thing I want to do, I could put in my alternative text, and I should put in a long description. To save some time right now, I'm just going to leave those empty. I'll then just click OK. And we now have a standalone image in our lesson. Now, can we take that image and center it horizontally on our screen? Sure. Click on the image, notice the selection box going around it, then go to our alignment tools and click on the center alignment. And that takes that image and makes it part of your lesson centered horizontally. All right, we've now added images in two different methods, one as a standalone and another one with text wrapping around it. Now I'm going to scroll down just a little, and I'm going to look for videos. I would like to put in another image right here, right underneath videos. The problem is, let me again show you your folder, and you can just keep, don't have to worry about displaying this. I'm going to show you that graphics folder that I sent you, and you'll notice there's nothing in here that says video. Oh darn. Okay, so think of it this way. You're creating content, you want to put in an image, but you don't have the image you want to use. And that happens a lot. What most of us would do, we'd go to the internet and we'd find it. Well, that's what we're going to do now, but we're not going to leave the SoftChalk 7 program. We're going to, again, our cursor is at the beginning of the paragraph underneath videos. We're going to choose Tools from the menu bar. And from the Tools menu, we're going to select Media Search. This displays the Media Search dialog window, where you can type in a keyword of what we're looking for. Well, I'm going to type in SoftChalk audio, or I'm sorry, SoftChalk video. And then I'm going to choose a repository that I want it to look in. And a repository, in case some of us aren't sure, a repository is nothing more than a storage location for content items. I'm going to choose Flickr. Now, if it's the first time that you've chosen this particular repository, you're going to get a dialog window that says, wait, before you can use any content from Flickr, you have to agree to the usage rights of Flickr. And you have to click on I agree. You have to. All right, so click on I agree. And now let's make it search. It's now going out to the Flickr website, and it found video 1. That's the image that I want it to use. Okay. We'll click on that image, and it shows you a preview of it. What we're now going to do is click on Insert. And then we'll click OK, because I see it's there. I'll click OK, and then I'll close. Now, what we've just done is we went to that Flickr website, we found the image, and then we made a copy of it and placed the image in your lesson. There it is. Now, notice if you roll over it, it should tell you that this is a paste image 2. It's a JPG file. Paste image 2. Where did that come from? Well, remember, way down here, we had an image that came from Word. Whenever SoftChalk 7 sees an image on the clipboard that came from Word, then it's going to make a file out of that, and it will call it paste image 1, paste image 2, paste image 3, etc. So this is the second image that SoftChalk 7 had to make a file out of. Now, I need to modify this, because notice it came in as an inline graphic. Let's right mouse click on it to modify it. Choose Modify the Image. Change the alignment and make it left. Put a border of 2. And again, we should put in our alternative text and the long description, but I'm just going to leave both of those blank to save time. I'll click OK, and we now have our text wrapping around the image. We've now put in images in 3 different ways inside of our lesson. 2 of the images came in locally from our local drives. 1 we put in with no text wrap. The other one had text wrapping around it. A 3rd image we just put in using our media search tool. Wow. Now, Let's save what we've done. So I'm going to click on the Save tool, and it's saving my lesson. All right, well, we've been here for about an hour, hour and 15 minutes, and I know it was right after lunch, so it might be a really good time to stop and take a break before we move on to our next topic. Now, before we're getting ready to leave or take our break, let's close the SoftChalk program window. So I'm just going to click on the big X that's there and close the window, and I'm back to my desktop. We need to start the SoftChalk 7 program. So I'm just going to point to that desktop item and icon and then double click on it. This time, what we're going to do, we're going to assume that the lesson we want to try and open is not one of the 8 most recent lessons that we worked on. So what I'd like you to do, let's choose File from the menu bar, select Open Recent, and go all the way down to the bottom of that to clear the recent files. Now, let's see how I can open a lesson that I created several months ago and is not on my recent list. We choose File from the menu bar and select Open. This gives us our open dialog window. Now, what we need to do is to navigate to where our lessons are stored. Now, luckily, I put mine in the TRCC files folder. What I recommend for everyone is to keep your lessons stored in the My Documents folder. However, create a subfolder in that and call it My Lessons, and put all of your lessons in there. This way it makes them very easy for you to find. Now remember, the name of our lesson was My First Lesson. We're inside of the TRCC files folder. If you're not, just click on the list triangle, choose Desktop, and then select TRCC files. Now let's select the My First Lesson folder and open it. And wow, now which one of those files do we pick so that we can start editing? That's the question. Well, in SoftChalk, what we like to say is if it's not easy, it's not going to be part of SoftChalk. Or if it's not easy, it's not SoftChalk. What would make it easy? And this is where people who know a lot about HTML and the internet say, well, the index file would make it easy. You're right, it would. And those of you who think that can select index and open it. Some people would say, well, I called my lesson My First Lesson. So if I select that and open it, that seems easy. And you're right. If you have a sense of humor like mine, then you like My First Lesson dummy file. I'm going to select that and open. Well, actually, when you get to this window where it shows you all of the HTML files that are connected with your lesson, it doesn't matter which one you use. You can use any of those HTML files. I'm going to pick the dummy file. I'll click on Open. If you picked any other file, you're still looking at the same screen I am. Let's maximize our window. Great. Now we have added, or we have opened a file that wasn't in our most recent list. Simple process. Let's now add some audio into our lesson. I'd like you to scroll down, and I'd like you to click on the blank line that's underneath an example is shown below this paragraph. Just click on that blank line. We're going to now add an audio file right at that location. Now you may notice that it looks like my graphic item has moved down the screen a little bit. It really hasn't. And when we display this, you'll see it's going to look okay. Now, what I'd like you to do is to choose Insert from the menu bar. From the Insert menu, select Media. I'm going to put in an audio file, so just choose Audio. Then click on Select the File. Let's navigate to our desktop. So we're going to click in the Look In line and go to the desktop. We'll then go inside of the TRCC folder and open it. Then go inside of the Media folder, select it, and open it. And you'll notice I've got several different files that we can use. All right, well, let's just put in this Slide 2 MP3 file. I'll click on that and select it. Notice the types of audio files that you can add into your lesson. All right, we click on Select, and now we have a choice. How do we want this to appear to our students? Well, in this first example, I'm going to let it be a linked file. Click OK. And what you now see is a speaker. What we probably now want to type is to click on the speaker to listen to the audio. Okay. Now, let's click at the end of the paragraph immediately below that. Press Enter, creating a blank line. Let's now insert more media. Choose Insert from the menu bar, select Media, select Media, and again we're going to still put in an audio file. Click on Select the File. Notice how it took you back into the Media folder? Again, SoftChalk remembers where you were last. Now let's once again choose that Slide 2 MP3 file. Click on Select, and this time let's make it an inline player. Click inside of the dialog box that says Describe the Media. And this is where you should type in a script of what the media is saying. I'm just going to type in, this is the script for the audio file that is playing. All right. Now, I then want to click OK. And what you're going to see here is an inline audio placeholder. Now, we're going to look at both of these in a couple of seconds, but I'm going to warn you that because I'm using GoToWebinar, it takes my audio files and it blacks them out. So I don't really see the play bar. If you have a media player installed on your computer, then you will see whatever the media play bar should show. I'm going to click on the Preview in the Browser window again. I'm going to save my changes. Now, what it's just done by saving those changes, it actually has taken the audio file that we had on our desktop and it then put it inside of our lesson folder. Now, let's click on page 2. And you'll notice, first of all, that we see the speaker. Click on the speaker to listen to the audio. We'll click on that speaker. It then opens up a new tab, and it then starts playing the audio. Notice the play bar that's there. Okay, let's just close our browser, or close that browser tab, or window if it opened in a separate window, and then down below, and notice the big block for my screen, and that's because I'm using the GoToWebinar program. It kind of just puts that over just because it can't display that and the rest of the program. But you should notice that there is a play bar there, a little triangle, a play button. Click on that, and it then starts the audio file. where your students can fast forward, they can rewind, they can pause, and they can start playing it again. And that is how we can bring audio into a lesson. There are two options as we see. The first is to make it a linked audio. That's the speaker. The second is to make it part of your lesson by putting in the play bar directly in the lesson itself. Okay, I'm going to close my browser, and I now want to deal with videos. How can I add my own video into a lesson? Well, it's the same ideas that we have for video as we did for audio. First of all, let's just click on that blank line in between the two video paragraphs. It's going to put my cursor maybe out to the right someplace. I again want to choose Insert from the menu bar, and I'm going to select Media. We're going to select Video, and then click on the Select File button. I want to navigate back to my desktop and then go inside of the TRCC Files folder. I'll select it and open it. I then would like to go inside of the Media folder. I'll select Media and open it. And there's only one file there. It's an audio files MP4. It's a video that talks about audio files. All right, I'm going to select that. Notice the different kinds of video files you can bring into our under our video media section. I'll click on Select. And again, I want this to be linked. When I choose linked, there is no other options. We just click on OK. And we now see a video camera where we probably want to tell our students to click on the video camera to watch the video. Now let's click right below the second paragraph and let's bring in the video again, only this time instead of linked, let's make it inline. I'm going to choose Insert from the menu bar, select Media, and I'm now going to choose Video. I'm going to choose Video. I'll select the file. It takes me right back where we were, and I'm going to make it an audio files MP4. I'll select it. This time I'll choose Inline. Now once again, what I have the ability to do is to type a description of the video as well as the dialogue that is being used with that particular video. Okay, I'm just going to type in, this is my description. And then I'll click, well, I can't click OK yet because it's actually asking me for more information. Well, let's click OK anyway. That shows me the size of this video window. As a default, it's really pretty small, kind of like 200 by 150. Now, since I created the video myself, I know that that's not big enough. So I need to change the size of that video window. My question would be, how can I edit that video placeholder? Well, the same way we edited our images, we edit our videos. We point to the object and right mouse click. And then we choose Modify. And in this case, it says Media. The default values, if you do not include them, are 200 by 150. Now that doesn't make your video smaller and fit in that box. It just displays a 200 by 150 section of the video, which probably isn't big enough. So what we're going to do is change the width. I'm going to make my width 800 and my height 620. How did I come up with those values? Well, because I created the video, so I know its size. And if the video was stored locally, then I must have created it or know somebody who created it, and they're letting me use it. And they can tell me the dimensions. Now we click OK. And there is the size of that video. Now, in my current screen resolution, that's pretty large. Okay. Now, let me tell you the problems of using local video. When we take our lesson and we then place it into Blackboard, that video is part of the lesson, but it's now on the web. And because it's just a regular MP4 file or an MOV or an AVI or any of the video formats, it has nothing special. Now what that means is when the students try to watch it, the entire video has to download into the student's computer before it starts. Now, some of you or most of you have probably gone to Netflix or your cable provider and started downloading videos to watch them on your TVs. And you may notice that it doesn't take long. The reason it doesn't is because those videos are streamed. And by streaming, it means the video will start playing before it completes the download. So it will actually start playing after only about 5 or even 10 or 5% of the video is downloaded. It starts playing. So it's a much quicker process. What we've done, it could take a long while for that video to start playing. Okay. Now let's see if there's an alternative to adding a video locally. I'm going to just leave my cursor right where it is. I'm going to press Enter to create a blank line. And I'm going to type in another title. And this is going to be Video from the Web. I'm now going to change that title from plain text to a heading 2, and then I'll press Enter. I did that so that it becomes part of my navigation. I haven't done navigation for about an hour, and I thought it would be a good thing to review how to add navigation points into your lesson. You can add them anytime you want. That's pretty nice. Now, let's try to add some video coming from the web. I'm going to choose Tools from the menu bar. From the Tools menu, I'm once again going to select Media Search. The Media Search dialog window then appears. I now want to scroll down. I'm going to remove the checkbox from Flickr, and I'm going to scroll down and choose YouTube as my repository. All right, and I'm still going to type in SoftChalk and video. I'm going to leave that same keyword. Let's click on Search. And we now see quite a lot of different videos that are available. Huh, okay. Well, I would like you to choose the Viewing Video in SoftChalk. Click on that. That selects that particular video, and then click on Insert. I'll then click OK, and then Close. Now, it did not insert the video. What it has done is it's gone to the SoftChalk website, or it's gone to the YouTube website. It found the video, and it then copied the embed code from that website. And then it used it inside of a widget. Now, a widget is nothing more than computer code that accesses content that lives somewhere on the web. That's all I need to know about it. Now let's press enter and then type in a video from CNN. Let's again change our style paragraph and make it a heading 3. I'm then going to press enter one more time. And for now, let's see let's start our browser. So I'm going to preview this in the browser. I'll save my changes. Now I only did that so that we can have a browser window open. What I'd now like you to do is click on the URL or address bar. And let's type in CNN.com. I never know what's going to appear here, but this is the CNN website. I'll then press enter. In a few seconds, we should be looking at the CNN website. There it is. Now let's click on the TV and Video tab. It's then going to display a default video. Now we're going to be using that video in our lesson. I'm going to click on the pause button to stop the video. Down below that screen, we should notice that there is a button with a greater than and less than sign. That's called the Embed Code button. Click on it, and you'll get a brief message that says, I have copied the embed code. That means we can now put that video in our lesson. Let's go back into the SoftChalk program. So I'm just going to point to my SoftChalk task on my taskbar and click. I'm back into the SoftChalk 7 program. Let's now choose Insert from the menu bar and select Widget. Click on the Paste HTML. And that's what we just copied from CNN. That gives us access to that particular video. Now let's click on the name line and just call this CNN1. So we give it a name. Again, we can also put in a description. So I'm going to type in, this is my description. Then I'll click OK. And we've now added several different videos in our lesson. Now let's really look and see what let's see what they're going to look like. So I'm going to preview this in the browser. I'll save my changes. We then would like to go to page number 2. Actually, I'm going to click right on videos. And in a few seconds, once my page loads, I see the video camera where it says click on the video camera to watch the video. Click on that camera, a new tab opens up, and it then starts playing that video file. Now once again, because of some video requirements on my screen and using the GoToWebinar software kind of blacks out on my screen. You should be watching the video. Let's close that browser or that tab, and we're back into our lesson. That's our linked video. Right down below it, we should see the inline video. And at the bottom left-hand corner of that screen, you should see a play button. You can click on the play button and watch that video. Notice that you can fast forward, you can pause, you can rewind. Now the problem with local video, well, I've already described it. Now let's scroll down where we see video from the web. And that's our video in SoftChalk. Click on the play button And you'll notice that there is a gray bar and a red bar. The gray bar shows us the download progress. The red bar shows us play. And notice how it downloads much faster than it plays, and it also plays before it finishes downloading. If I scroll further down, there's our video from CNN, where we can point and click on the play button and once again watch that video. I'm going to pause it. Unfortunately, there's no way I can stop the commercial from coming. Okay. We've now added videos in multiple ways into our lesson. Let's close our browser. And we're back into the SoftChalk or the SoftChalk 7 program. All right, anyone have any questions with video or media in a SoftChalk lesson? Again, it was pretty easy to add that kind of content into my lesson. Now what we would like to do is we're going to be adding some simple interactions into our lesson. The simple interactions are going to be hyperlinks to begin with. Now, here we're describing hyperlinks and how they can be used. Great. What I now want to do, I'm going to scroll down, and I'd like to create an example of a hyperlink that is going to go to a web page. Now, it says here, just click on the underlined text and you will be taken to our school's website. Well, let's select our school's website. Just drag to select that. So to create a hyperlink, the first thing we need to do is to select the anchor text, which is what we've just done. Now, just like adding graphics, adding audio, adding video, adding page breaks, we're going to choose Insert from the menu bar. From the Insert menu, I'm going to select Hyperlink. I then want to click on the URL line and type in www.trcc.edu. That's your school's website. Well, I hope it is. I notice that it's going to open the link in a new window, which is exactly what I want it to do. So I'm going to click on OK, and I've just created a hyperlink. If you click outside of that text, selected text, you'll notice that it's purple, which is the color scheme we're using, and it's underlined, which indicates that it is a hyperlink. Now, we also have the ability to link to a document, and that's what we're going to attempt to do. Now, let's select PDF file in that paragraph. I'm going to go to the right-hand side of it to select the PDF file. Once again, let's choose Insert and select Hyperlink. Click on, this time, Select File. Now, if we look just at the bottom of this window, what kind of electronic file can you link to? And it could be any. Now, what I'd like you to do is let's go to our desktop. So wherever you're currently looking, click on that line and choose Desktop. Then go to the TRCC Files folder and open it. And once again, let's go into the Files folder. Select Files and open it. And let's use this DOI PDF file. Click and open. Now I want this to open in a new window, so I'll then click OK. Now I should warn you, when you link to a file, your students will need the program that was either used to create that file or a program that is used to view that file type before they'll be able to do anything with it. So because I've linked to that PDF file, my students are going to have Adobe Acrobat Reader on their machine. Otherwise, it won't mean anything. They won't be able to do anything with that file. Okay. Now, we can also link to Excel files, etc. Now, let's scroll down. In addition, or actually, rather than scrolling down, let's go all the way up to the beginning of our document, where we've got that picture of your website. I'd like to make that into a link also. Can I make a link out of a graphic? Sure. Click on the image. It's selected. Notice the dots going around it. Let's now choose Insert from the menu bar and select Hyperlink. Click in the URL line and again type in www.trcc.edu. Make sure it's going to open in a new window and click OK. We've now created a hyperlink of our graphic. Now let's scroll down to where I see iframe links. Let's just click on the blank line immediately above Link to a PDF. Because rather than sending students away from our lesson, we can actually bring websites into our lesson. We do that by creating an iframe link. Now, how would we do that? We choose Insert from the menu bar, and from the Insert menu, select iframe. Let's click on that URL line and type in http://www.trcc.edu. Let's make this display in a width, and I'm going to make the width 800, and the height I'll let be 400. I'll see what that's going to do. I'll then click OK, and I have now created an iframe that will display a website directly in my lesson. I'm going to scroll down a little bit more. I'm then going to click right up above, or the blank line above the page break. Because in addition to it displaying a website, my iframe can also display a PDF. It can't be used for displaying a Excel file or a Word file, but it can be used to display a PDF. Let's see how I do it. Insert, iframe, click on Select File, and choose the DOI. Click on Open, and let's change its width. I'm going to make it display at 800, and its height, I'll let that be 400. And then I'll click OK. We've now created simple links within our lesson. Now let's see what it's going to look like. We'll preview it, and we'll save our changes. This time we want to go to page 3. So as soon as my browser comes back, I'm going to go to page 3. I'll just click right on the title. And now I notice our school's website. Point and click. It opens the Three Rivers website in a new browser tab or window, depending on how your browser is set up. When you close that, notice back into the lesson. Let's scroll down just a little bit and then click on the hyperlink for a PDF file. It then opens in a new tab the Declaration of Independence PDF file. I'll close that tab or window, and I'm back into my lesson. Scroll down a little bit more, and there is your website inside of our lesson. Now that's an active website. That's just not a picture. If you click on faculty and staff, notice the drop down. Wow. You can then click on the faculty and staff directory, and it changes to that particular area. Wow. Go back to home. This is a live active website. If you think it should display a little bit wider, then you could go back into the SoftChalk Create Program window and change the dimensions. Before we do that, let's scroll down a little, and that's where we have our PDF file displayed, showing once again the Declaration of Independence. Again, what must be true with our PDF file is for this iframe, our students must have Adobe Acrobat Reader to be able to display the PDF. Now let's go back to our table of contents, TOC, and let's go to our first page, because we created another hyperlink of the graphic. So point to that graphic and click, and it opened up the website. Close the browser. Come back into the SoftChalk Create program. We've now created hyperlinks. Any questions? Okay, and iframe links. Great. Now let's scroll down, and we're now ready to add some additional content into our lesson. So I'm just going to scroll down here, and we're now going to look at what we call a text popper. Now, as the graphic shows, the students roll over what we're going to call our anchor text, and then additional information pops up. Let's try creating one. Select Display Text. Once you have that selected, let's choose Insert from the menu bar. From the Insert menu, select Text Popper. All right, now let's type in a title for this text popper, and we're going to call this a text-only display. We then click in the bottom area, and this is where we can type in what we want our students to know. Think of this as a great way to put in a definition behind a word. So I'm going to type in, this is my definition for the title of this window. Now let's look at the style. I'm going to keep this as an original style. Its appearance, I'm going to put in, well, I'm not going to change anything for the appearance. So I'm not going to put in a drop shadow or a stick around. But where I want it to display is going to be top right. Now, top right means when the students point to it, that text pop-up is going to appear above and to the right of the student's pointer. The width should be set as a default or as its starting value at 200 pixels. Click OK. If you click outside of that selected text, you'll notice that it's changed its color also. It now matches the color scheme of our lesson. Let's also make it display a graphic. Select Display Graphics, choose Insert, select Text Popper. And here I'm going to say a graphic display. Then I'm going to click in the box down below. So think of this where I've described something in my lesson, and now I want my students to be able to see a picture of it. How do I add an image inside of my text pop-up? Well, if you try to choose Insert from the menu bar, as we've done previously, it does not work. Okay. How? The only method we can use to add an image inside of a text popper is to point where we want the image to go and then right mouse click. That pops up a menu. We want to select image from that dialog window. We now want to click on the Select Image button. Now I'm going to use the TRCC small. Select that, click on it, and select. And we've just put in that image. I'm then going to click OK. I'm going to press the right arrow key on my keyboard. That's going to move my cursor to the right-hand side of the image, and then I'm going to press Enter. Now I want you to notice that the width of this text pop-up is a minimum of 200. Now because the image is 400, then it's going to make the text popper dialog window appear larger. We're going to go a little bit further than just putting in an image. I want you to point to that image file, that image of the Three Rivers Community College, and right mouse click on it, because I'm going to put in a hyperlink inside of this dialog window. So let's choose Insert Image or Insert Hyperlink. Click in the URL line, type in www.trcc.edu. We're going to open the link in a new window, so we'll click OK. And now, well, I'm just going to stop right here. Let's click OK. And let's see what both of these now will do. I'm going to choose Preview it in the browser. We'll save our changes. This time we want to navigate to our fourth page. So once my browser window reappears, I'm just going to scroll down and click on page 4. Wow, I don't like the way the bullets appear. They look like they're crashing into that window of my graphic. So I'm going to need to make some changes, and we'll see how to do that in just a few seconds. First, let's point to Display Text. And notice above and to the right of wherever you're pointing, that's where our definition popped up. Go off of that and it goes away. Cool. Now let's try the display graphics. All right, there's my display. Now try and click on that image. Oh wait, notice I cannot interact with the image. Oh darn. Let's modify some things. Let's close our browser. First, let's fix our graphic display, because it does not have enough space between it and the text around it. So I'm going to modify my graphic. Remember how you can do that? You can right mouse click on the graphic. You then can select Modify Image. This will display the Insert Image dialog window. We need to change our H space to a minimum of 20. I'm actually going to make it 30. The reason we need to do that, whenever you have bulleted text wrapping around an image, to make the bullets display correctly, you need to increase the H space again to a minimum of 20. We'll then click OK, and that's going to really offset some things. Now let's fix our text popper. Let's point to the display graphics And how do we modify something that was created using SoftChalk 7? We point to the object and right mouse click. Then we select Modify Text Popper. Now what we need to do is, rather than that text popper automatically going away when we roll off of it, we need it to stick around. So I'm going to click on the Stick Around option. I'm also going to have it display top right, and I'm going to add additional text into my text pop-up. So I'm going to click in the text pop-up dialog window. I'm going to press the right arrow key to move the cursor to the right, and you can see it flashing there. Then press enter. And we're just going to tell our students, click on the image above, just so they know they can do it. I made it stick around, positioned it at the top right, and adding some text. Let's click OK, and we've modified our text popper. A text popper can also contain an audio file and a video file, and they would be inserted the same way we added our graphics and our hyperlinks. We right mouse click. Let's see what it now looks like. I'll preview it. I'll save my changes. As soon as my browser window reappears, I'm going to navigate to my fourth page. I'm going to roll over display. Oh, notice how the bullets now are viewable? That's because we increased our horizontal spacing. As I roll over display text, it displays it. Great. Now I'm going to roll over display graphics, and you'll notice now there's a close button. That's because we told it to stick around. And when our students point to that image and click, it takes them to the website. I could also have had it display an audio file or a video file, and it used the same basic idea. I'll close my browser, close my text pop-up, and close my lesson. We've now dealt with very simple interactions in our lesson. Text poppers and hyperlinks. What we're going to do next is we're going to attempt to add some more dynamic interactions. We're going to create an activity. To create an activity, let's click directly under Scoring Activities. We now want to choose Insert from the menu bar. From the Insert menu, I want to select Activity, and this shows you a list of all of the activities that we can add. They can be mobile friendly. We've got 6 mobile friendly activities and about 15 flash-based activities. Remember, this is for version 7. Version 8, that's going to be coming out on Monday, all of the activities will be mobile friendly. Let's create a very simple one. We're going to use this drag and drop activity. I'm going to select that, and we then get a dialog window where we can type in an item and its match. All right, well, rather than typing, we're going to bring in a list of items that I've already created for you. So I'm going to click on Import List. Let's navigate from wherever you currently are to your desktop. So we'll click on that line and choose Desktop. We then want to select the TRCC Files folder, select it and open it, then go inside of the Files folder. Select Files and Open. Click on X Word and then select. You've now typed in items and their match. Now I made this really, really easy, as you can see. We can scroll down the list and see all of the items and what they should be matched with. So we've now created our list of items. Now what I would like to do is set a point value, because this is a scoring activity. So I'm going to go to the Options tab, and then down at the bottom right-hand side, I'm going to set a point value. I'm going to let this be worth 5 points. I also want to allow my students to restart this activity in case they mess up. So I'm going to show a restart button. I'm also going to display the activity within my lesson. So I'm going to click on Display Inline. And I think it's really cool when sounds happen, so I'm also going to play feedback sounds. I don't want to show what the answers are because I'm showing that I'm going to restart or allow my students to restart. So if I show the answers and allow them to restart, it kind of takes all the fun out of it. All right, so I'm going to show restart, display inline, and play a sound. It's worth 5 points. I can also type in an added description for this activity. I'm just going to leave it blank for right now. I'll then click OK, and there is our activity. Well, let's see what it looks like. I'll preview it. I'll save the changes. I'll then navigate to the 5th page. I'm going to scroll down once my table of contents displays. Now you see why I think it's a great idea to leave the open navigation on while you're creating content so that you can get where you want to very quickly without having to go through each page. Now I'm going to click on my scoring activities, and it then displays that drag and drop activity. And then all the students have to do, let's see, mine shows the first item is the day after the middle of the week is drag and drop. If you put it in the right place, you score points the day before the middle of the week. If you put it in the wrong place, then it boings and snaps down. When you finally get it to the right location, you do not score any points. Now, the points are actually not recorded until the student completes the activity. So we may want to add some text that tells the students that they need to finish all of the scoring activities or they will not earn points. All right, well, let's complete this, and I'll just drag and drop, adding more points. And when I finish it, it's going to show me that I've scored some points. And then over here on the right-hand side, notice how another box opens up, and that shows them the total points that they've scored for the lesson. So as I add more scoring opportunities, this point value will increase. Those scores we want to place in the Blackboard gradebook. And we're going to show, or I'm going to show you, how you can do that before we finish today. I'm going to close the browser, and we've just created our first scoring activity. Now I'm going to click right after scoring activities. I'm then going to press Enter, and this is where I'm going to give my students that extra information. I'm going to say, to earn points for any scoring activity, you must finish the activity. All right, so I'm going to emphasize some things. I'm going to emphasize you must finish. I'm going to select that text, and I'm going to make it boldface. In addition to making it boldface, I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to pick a green color, and then I'll click OK. If you click outside, that's going to really stand out. So my students will see that, and I really wanted to. All right, let's add more scoring opportunities. I'm going to create a quiz question. I'm going to click right below quiz questions, and I'm now going to type in true, false. I'm going to change the style of the paragraph to a heading 2, and then I'll press enter. And I'm going to now add some additional text here. Well, actually, no, I'm going to create my true-false question. To add my true-false question, I'm going to insert a quiz question. So I'm going to choose Insert from the menu bar and select Quiz Popper. Now let's select true-false. This gives me my quiz pop-up dialog window. And all of our quiz question dialog windows are very similar to this one. They all will have a minimum of the same or the tabs that you see going across the top of this window. Question and answer, feedback, hint, and options. Now, for our question, we're going to put in something pretty simple. We'll say TRCC means, and we'll say Three Rivers Community College. And I want my students to evaluate that statement. I'm making this really easy. It's a Friday, it's getting late where I am, so everything is easy. I realized when I was teaching full-time that I should never create quizzes at the end of the week because I just, I'm tired and I want to get them done, so I really don't create good quiz questions then. I find it's best when I create them early in the morning. All right, well, anyway, I know that that's a true statement. Do you realize the same thing? Or is it just me? Anyway, I'm going to make this a true statement. I could go to feedback, and in the feedback tab, I have the ability to add additional text. So I'm going to click here, right, good job, you know where you are. Then if they get the answer wrong, I'm going to say, you should pay more attention to your surroundings. Okay, that's my if they get it right, if they get it wrong. Do I need to show what the correct answer is if they get the answer wrong? Well, it's a true-false statement, so I really don't think I need to. So I'm going to remove that checkbox, or I'm not going to put one there if there isn't one. I'm going to give a hint. So I'm going to click on the hint option. To apply a hint, I click to show the hint button. Then I'm ready to start typing what I want my students to see. Well, rather than typing, I'm going to right mouse click inside of this window, and I'm going to put in an image. I'm going to click on the Select Image button, and I'm going to choose the TRCC Large and select it. I'm going to optimize the image and then click OK. Now again, I should put in my long descriptions for any images that I have. And I've now put in an image inside of my dialog window, or inside of my hint button. Now that image still is a little bit large, so let's make it smaller. Right mouse click and choose Modify Image. To resize an image, we can point to our height or width and put in a different value. Well, I'm going to change my width, and I'm going to make it 400. Notice, as you change the width, the height changes at the same rate. Well, let's see if the same thing is true with the height. Rather than 219, I'm going to make it 73. Notice as I change the height, the width changed at the same rate. I'll then click OK. And there's my image. Now, if that looks a little small, click on the image. Notice the selection dots going around it. Point to the dot in the bottom right-hand corner. Notice your pointer, an arrow, double-headed, diagonal. Hold down on the mouse button and drag. And notice if you just try to drag down, nothing happens. Or if you just try to drag horizontally, nothing happens. You have to go diagonally. That's going to keep the image in the same proportions as it started. Let up on the mouse button and you've resized the image. Let's go to our Options tab. It's a quiz question. How should it appear to the students? I'm going to choose Quiz Me. It doesn't matter which of the 4 options you select. They are all going to display the same question. Then we set a point value. The point value can go anywhere from 0. Yes, you can create a quiz question and not have it worth any points, all the way through 100. Well, I'm going to let this question be worth 5 points. I'm also not going to allow my students to retry, but I can if I want to. In this case, I'm going to hide the question when the page loads. I'll then click OK, and I have just created my true-false quiz question. Now let's click to the right of the title, True-False. Press Enter, and type in, click on the quiz icon or the quiz image to display the question. You must click on Check Answer to have the question graded and scored. Just to let them know that. So we've now created a quiz question. Let's see what the quiz question looks like. We'll preview it in the browser. We'll save our changes. In a few seconds, once our browser window reappears, we'll then scroll all the way down and click on page 6. There's my quiz question. It says click on the quiz image to display the question. All right, I'm going to point to that and I'm going to click. Now let's view the hint. There's our hint. It shows me the image inside of that quiz question dialog window. Let's pick an answer. I'll make it true and check the answer. And I've scored 5 points. Notice on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, and it looks like I've lost my audio here. All right, is my audio okay? Okay, great. Now notice that when I view the hint, it does put it in the quiz question area. When I check my answer, it shows me the points that I've earned, shows me the value of the quiz, and it also shows me that I've now scored 5 out of that 10 points. Now that point value is not a score for the page. It's a score for the entire lesson. Pretty cool. Ann, you have a question or just that I lost my audio for a couple of seconds? And you can unmute your microphone and ask your question if you have one.
No, we're okay.
Oh, okay, great. All right, well, we've just finished a lot of content in our lesson. Pretty cool and not too difficult. Now let's see what we're going to have to do to get this lesson into Blackboard. Now I'm going to leave my browser open for now. I'm going to now come down to the bottom of my screen and I'm going to click on my SoftChalk task. There's several things we now need to do. First, we need to create a connection between SoftChalk 7 and Blackboard. First thing, let's choose File from the menu bar. From the File menu, select Publish Lesson. This is going to display a dialog window where you see accounts listed. Okay, now what we now want to do is we need to create a new account. This account will be a connection between your version of SoftChalk 7 and your login into Blackboard. All right, so we're going to click on the New button. We want to choose Blackboard as our account type. Then we click OK. This now displays this Blackboard account dialog information where you now would like to type in a name for your Blackboard connection. And I'm just going to call this My Blackboard Connection. Sounds like a good name for it. All right, well, now that I've done that, I then am going to need to know the address for your Blackboard server. Now, that can be found, and if I have it correctly done here, let me show you what your server address is. It should be https://blackboard.trcc.edu. Ben, if that's not right, let me know. That's what we want to enter for our server address. All right, so I'll wait a few seconds till everyone has that as your server address. And actually, we can just leave this screen alone for right now. And we now want to go to our browser task.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that server address for us?
It's again, https:// that's the letter S as in Susie, / blackboard.trcc.edu.
Okay, thank you.
All right, now once you have entered that, let's go back into our browser tab. I'm sorry, I meant to show that on my screen. So that's the server address we want to make sure that we enter. Then what we would like to do is click back on our browser tab to open up our browser window. Now, I don't really need this lesson displayed anymore, so I'm just going to click on it. And incidentally, I'm going to show you a very quick way that you probably already know to get into your Blackboard. Let's click on the address bar and just type in trcc.edu and then press enter. And it takes you to your website. Now you'll notice at the top of the screen we see Blackboard. Click on that. And now you're ready to log in to your Blackboard. Type in your username, type in your password. All right, I need to change the address because I don't have access to your Blackboard, but I have my own, and you'll notice they look a lot alike. I'm going to then type in my username and my password, and I'll log in. Now, it doesn't matter from this point on which course you choose, but you must enter one of the courses you're currently teaching. Doesn't matter which one. I'm going to enter my differential equations course. I only did that so I can be into a secure area of Blackboard. All right, now that you have entered that area, we then want to go on the right-hand side of our screen, or I'm sorry, the left-hand side of our screen, under Course Management, we want to look at Course Tools. And we're going to click on that. Scroll down that list until you see SoftChalk Publish with Score Center. And then select that. Click on that link. This is then going to show you the SoftChalk Access Code configuration screen. This is going to generate a special code that allows SoftChalk to talk to your instance of Blackboard. No one else's. If someone else logs into Blackboard or tries to enter information into Blackboard, it's not going to work. It's only your area of Blackboard. Click on Submit, and then just remember that code. Okay, no. What you should do is just drag to select that code. Now, you only need to do this once. You need to do it once for each computer you're going to use the SoftChalk 7 program on. So if you're going to use it at school, you need to enter it on your school computer. If you're going to do it at home, you need to go through this process for your computer at home also. Each computer is going to generate a different code. All right, so once you have that selected, we're then just going to copy it, and then we're going to move into our SoftChalk program. So I'm going to come down here to my SoftChalk task that's running and click, and I want to click in this access code line. And I then want to paste that code. Now I need to clean up my server address because it's not the one that I had for everyone. My server address isn't that fancy. And then I click OK. The port number is just left blank. And it then shows you your Blackboard connection. It shows you the server address, and it tells you the type of connection. Now, let's see if it worked. We can test this by going to the Publish tab over here on the left-hand side of this window, and it should then show you my Blackboard connection as your account. Click on Connect. And what you will then see on the right-hand side of the screen are all of the courses you're currently teaching in Blackboard. If it did not work, if it doesn't display anything, then it might mean that you have typed your server address incorrectly. More than likely, that would be it. Now, let's just check. Did anyone have any problems connecting to your Blackboard server? Now, wait a couple of seconds. Make sure that everybody connected to it. All right, and it looks like in the classroom no one had any problems. Great. I don't get any indication from Ann or anyone else that they had any problems, so that's super. So we have now connected to Blackboard. Now, in the background of our published lesson, that's the lesson that we've just created. We want to now put that into Blackboard. Now, we're going to delete it also once we put it there, so it's not going to stay live, but I want to show you how we can then easily place it into Blackboard. Select the course you want to put it into. Now, if you have a test course that you use to test things out, I would choose that. I'm just going to put it inside of my General Studies. I'm going to expand my General Studies course folder, and I then see Information and Content. I'm going to select Content, and that's where I'm going to put it. Okay, I'm going to put it inside of my content folder inside of General Studies. Once I've selected the location for the course, I'm then going to decide some things. I've got a question. And the question is, do I want the scores to go into the Blackboard gradebook? If I say yes to that, then I make it a score center lesson. When I choose score center, notice the item name is the title that we used for our lesson. That's good enough. Now let's decide, how many tries do you want your students to have for this lesson? Unlimited or a value from 1 through 10? I'm going to let them do it an unlimited number of times. Now, what grading method do I want to use? Since I'm letting them access this lesson as many times as they want, I then get to decide, do I want to record in the Blackboard gradebook their first attempt, their most recent or last attempt, or their highest score? Or maybe I want to do an average of all of the scores. Okay, I'm going to let it be highest. Do I want it to open in a new window? Actually, I don't. So I'm going to remove that check if it's there. I'm going to make it visible right now, and then I publish. I click on the Publish button. It's now taking our lesson and now uploading it into Blackboard and creating a column in the Blackboard gradebook. It just did all of that for you. Our lesson has now been published. Let's click OK. And I'm going to close this Publish Lesson window. And I now want to go back into my browser. So I'm going to go back into my browser task, and there is Blackboard. I'm going to go back to my courses. I'll click on my courses menu, and I'm going to enter the course that I put that lesson into. I put it in General Studies. Once my course appears, I'm going to go into the content folder over here on my General Studies list. And you'll notice I've got several things here, but down at the bottom, this is my student's first lesson. I'm just going to move it up so it appears a little bit higher in my list here. I can do that because I have my editing mode turned on, but there is our lesson, a student's first lesson. SCL means that it is a score center lesson. Now, what the score center does for you, first of all, it will take the scores your students have earned and put them into the Blackboard gradebook. Secondly, you will now be able to see how the students have answered each of the scores. Let's see what the lesson looks like. Let's point to a student's first lesson. Click on it. And this is going to open the lesson It then displays instructions for the score center telling, this is what the students will see, telling them that they must click on the finish button on the last page when they are done. We'll click continue, and it connects to the score center. Now what that means for the students, if they start the lesson and they stop it before they finish, then they can come back and start the lesson and pick up where they left off. They do not have to redo all of the quiz questions and activities that they've already completed. That's pretty nice. Now let's just go to our last page. So I'm going to go to page 6. And notice there's a finish button down here. That finish button is what the students must click on to end the lesson. Now let's do a quiz. I'm going to click on the Quiz Me. I'm going to answer the question. I'm going to check my answer, because I've told the students they must click on Check Answer to have the question graded. So they click on Check Answer. They've scored 5 out of 10 points. They're happy with that. Then they click on Finish, and it submits that score to the score center. They get a receipt. They should probably be told to remember that receipt. If they would like to, they can click on this score receipt and have it sent to them so that they have an indication to give you in case something happens in the transfer process. They could then show you, yes, we have. I finished the lesson. Here's my receipt number. You could then contact our help desk. If it didn't go in the grade book, it should, but sometimes there's an internet, let's say, hiccup that could stop that from actually going into the gradebook. It doesn't happen very often, but I thought I'd mention it. All right, now let's go back into our content. And let's see, I'm going to scroll down, and I want to look at the Grade Center in Blackboard. I'm going to look at the full Grade Center. And notice we have a student's first lesson. That's the lesson that we just put in to our grade or into our grade columns. So it's now ready to be graded, ready for our students to take it. That's all it took. All right, well, let's clean up what we did because we probably don't want our students to see this. So I'm again going to go into my content area. I'm going to make sure that the edit mode is turned on. I'm going to point to a student first lesson. I'm going to click on the list that we see, the editing options, and I'm going to choose delete. Is it okay to delete it? Yes, it is. Now, I'm not quite done. I now want to, as I said, I'm going to clean everything up for us. I now want to go to my Grade Center and once again look at the full Grade Center. You should be familiar with this. You've probably done this often, so this is now all Blackboard. Let's look for a student first lesson. Click on that list triangle to the right of it and delete the column so it doesn't stay as part of your student's grade. Click OK.